Hello, welcome to another episode of Pre-Calculus with Professor Checo. Today we're going to be looking at section 2.2, Elementary Functions, Graphs and Transformations. So let's see, today we have 30 questions. Alright, let's get into it. Let's go to the textbook and see what we have going on in this chapter. Alright, elementary functions, graphs and transformations. So each of the functions here, g of x, h of x, and k of x have a different property. So as you see, kind of like this x squared, they all kind of have this x squared, which is called the parent function. So then we were able to identify what kind of things will happen to them based on what the operation is. So that's it for this page. Let's go to the next page. Let's see. So here, you have to identify first the function. Oh, I'm sorry, this is our basic elementary functions, which we call the parent functions. So here's your linear x, here's your quadratic x squared, here's your cubic function, x to the third, square root function, cube root function, and the absolute value function. So these are the parent functions that you want to become very familiar with and know the properties of them, what's so special about them, the critical points, and be able to identify them from a graph. Okay, so moving on, just basically evaluating it. So here is your linear function, will be a straight line. Your quadratic squared is a parabola to u. The cubic function kind of looks like this. It's the third. Here's your square root function. It's a parabola on its side, but missing the bottom half. This is a cubic function on its side. And the absolute value is a v. Those are your parent functions. So vertical shifts are going to be anything attached to this. So anything that's attached to the function is going to be a vertical shift. So we'll get into that. We'll get into like vertical shifts, up, down, and then if it's actually in the function is when it's left, right. And then lastly, will be left, right, moving that. Cool. Reflection, stretches, and shrinks is when you multiply the equation by something. So if you multiply it by a negative, you multiply it by a constant. I may have missed something down here. Nope, just more multiplication and manipulating. Vertical translation is when a number is being added to the function. If there is something attached to the function, like on the inside, then it's going to be a horizontal shift. Just here's my hint. If it's inside parentheses, it's actually lying to you, the number. So here, x plus, notice how when it's greater than, it goes to the left. Here, when it's negative, it goes to the right. So it's actually lying to you. So if you see like x plus 4, that means actually that it went to the left. It's lying to you. If it's outside, no parentheses around it, well, this is telling you the truth. Then plus k means that it goes up k units. Little trick. Of stretch is when it's greater than, basically the graph's there, and this is a string. We'll get into that. Cool. All right, piecewise functions, definitions. Here we have two different kind of graphs. When it's less than 0, all right, I'm fine with that. Piecewise, we'll get into that. Natural gas rates, basically it's a piecewise function for every cubic watt you charge, and then problems. Cool, so we're ready to jump right into this. Okay, domain. So the domain of a function of a parabola right here is going to be all real numbers because there's, I'm going to do it pretty easy. Maybe like this, and then I'm going to do negative infinity, and then it's followed by an infinity because any number that you plug this into Desmos, well, you'll see the graph, it's an upside down U. Domain is x values. Every x value has a value. The range, now not every y value has a graph. So this graph is actually going upside down, but it's been moved, so it's a U, but it's been moved down 17 units. So the lowest value that you're going to get, instead of it being 0, is going to be negative 17, and then this is going to go all the way up to infinity. And then over here, if I would just do this, so this would be x squared minus 17, and you'll see that it's just a graph that's been moved down. So the lowest value that you'll see is negative 17, the highest value goes to infinity. The range of the function, I'm sorry, it is not a parentheses, it is a hard bracket because it touches 17. There we go. Very similar domain, this is all real numbers because it's a linear line. Range, same thing. Let's look at this one. 17 minus the square root of x. So if I do 17 minus sqrt for square root of x, I zoom out. As you can see, this is a graph that goes like that. So here, my domain is going to be from, it's going to be a hard bracket 0 all the way up to infinity, and you can never touch infinity, so that gets a parentheses, and then we check answer, done. The range is pretty much the same exact thing. It's going to be all numbers less than 17, so going to be a hard bracket. Nope. Parentheses, negative infinity, up to 17. Delete that. Insert a hard bracket. Check answer. Beautiful. Okay. Domain absolute value, very similar. I'm going to let you guys do that one. So what is the graph of f of x plus 3? What does plus 3 do? If it's on the end, it's going to be moving it up. So the graph of f of x is red, so it should have gone up, so blue is going up. Here, if it's x minus 5, that's lying to you. This graph should be moving 5 units to the right. So if I move 5 units to the right, it's going to be this one right here. I think it's minus 5. Isn't this the same question? So that one. Okay. The graph of f of x shown to the right. Graph, what is f of x minus 5? This is going to be a shift down. So this entire graph went down 5 units. Pretty straightforward. Moving on. The graph of x, so if I negate it by a negative, which one? Red should be flipped. So if red is up here, then it's flipped. It should be just reflecting it over the y-axis, the x-axis, I'm sorry. So it should be this one. Let's take a look at this. I'm pretty sure. So if it was there, flipped that, yeah, it's going to be the reflection. So I'm saying it's A. What is this graph? This one's going to be reflected, and then it's going to be moved 2 units to the right. So it's going to be reflected 2 units, shifted down 2 units, shifted up 2 units left, shifted right 2 units, because it's lying to us and it's on the inside, and then it's reflected over the x-axis. What would this graph look like? This graph would look like, well, obviously be going down. They're all going down, and then shifted right, right. That one's to the right and down. I hope this is pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so here, first I'm going to look at this. This is going to be x squared. Now this is plus 7, which means it's been lying to us. So negative 7, 7 units to the left. Shifted 7 units to the left, 7 units. And then how many units up? It should be going down 4 because it's lying to us. I'm sorry, it's telling us the truth because it's not inside the parentheses. Boom, there we go. Now I'm going to have to graph this. So let's graph this. So I said that this was a parabola that started at, it went 0, 0, moved 7 units to the left, and then it was down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm looking at this right here to make sure that my point is locked up at negative 7, negative 4. Plot that. I think this is all save. Nope, something here didn't happen. Vertical shift was negative 7. Horizontal shift was negative 4. Save. Check answer. Oh, it took, I had to switch them. 7. There we go. Okay, weird tool. Let's try this one. So what happens here, this one is going to be, if you just move this negative 2 to the back, then it's a reflection over the x-axis and move down 2 units. So shifted down 2 units, down 2 units, and there was a reflection over the x-axis. Reflection over the x-axis and shifted down 2 units. What would this graph, reflection over the x-axis would be looking that way, and shifted down 2 units, I think it's D. Describe this graph. So what happened here, this one got stretched. So if you took this graph and stretched it there, like the entire thing got pulled in the positive f of x direction, except here it's getting stretched in the negative 8. So it's a vertical stretch of a factor of 8, and it's reflected in the x-axis. It's a vertical stretch and reflected in the x-axis. This graph would look something along the lines of, I don't know which one of these two it would be. I'm taking a guess because it didn't shift up or down. It's the same vertex. Boom, there we go. What would this function be? Let's blow this up. So this function looks like a parabola that was shifted 2 units to the left and 2 units down. So I'm thinking it should be, oh, it's just asking what's the parent function? Square root function. I'm sorry, squared function. And then what would the equation be is what I just said. I think it was parentheses x minus 2, no, plus 2 because I shifted left 2 units, plus 2 parentheses squared, and then minus 2 because it went down 2 units. Write out the equation for the given graph. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a plus 1. That's why I got it wrong. It shouldn't be plus, it's plus 1. Minus 2. There we go. Okay, here we have an absolute value function that's been moved 3 units right, 1 unit down. So this is going to be an absolute value function. And then it should be 3 units right, so it should be x minus 3. And then how many units down? 1? Minus 1? Yep. Cool. Alright, so very similar. This is going to be a square root function. So it's going to be the square root. This is going to be just what? Minus 1, 2. I think it's going to be the square root of x minus 2. On the outside, minus 2. No. Oh, I think it's actually the negative. It's the negative square root of x minus 2 because it's reflected down. Square root of x is going up. Alright, this is just cubic function moved to the left. I'm sorry, moved to the right. So here they want the equation if it shifted 2 units to the right. Oh, okay, let's see, g of x. Find the graph of the function g is formed by applying the indicated sequence of transformations to the given function f. Find an equation for the function g and graph of x using negative 7 and 7 and negative 7, 7. Oh, because they just don't want it to be that big. They don't want the x-axis because square root functions would just be forever. So for right now, they're just asking 2 units to the right, 4 units down would be the square root of x minus 2, and then we would be going minus 4. Check answer. Boom. What does this graph look like? Move 2 units right, 4 units down, 2 units right, 4 units down. Looks like that one. Cool. Alright, very similar x squared. So I'm just going to go show completed so you guys can see. Just writing the equation. Oh, it's a new question, but it just changed it. Okay. So x is reflected over the x-axis, shifted 4 down units. Pretty simple. Piecewise. So now here, if x is less than 1 and x is greater than, so we have 2 different functions. So here I have a negative slope, so if it's less than, it should be going down. So that gives me either b or d. Notice how it's an open circle where one of these is a closed circle. So I know the answer is b, and that's just using process of elimination. On the second graph, x minus 4, that would be a negative slope, negative y-intercept, and a positive slope. And x is equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle. Alright, here we have 2 different values between 0 and 10, 10 and 50, and then, so I'm looking at that 2x, 10 and 10. If I plug in 10, does it connect to there? 10 is 20, 10 is 20, so they are going to be connected. And then, which one of these is it? I'm going to say it's A. No. So if I plug in 50, that's 60. 50, 50. Oh, they don't connect. 50, half of 50 is 25. That's 65. 65 and 60. There is a slight jump on an open circle. The open circle is on top. There's a slight jump. Those are equal. It's C. It's C because the first 2 parts of the graph do connect. The y values overlap, but in the second part they don't overlap, which is why there's a jump. So now here, this is going to be obviously it's a v, so it's an absolute value function. Continue. The graph is reflected about the x-axis, and it looks like it's wider. So it was vertically stretched by a fraction. So it was reflected over the x-axis, vertically shrunk. I think it's a shrink by 0.5. Yes, because it shrunk. Write the equation. This should just be negative 0.5 absolute value of x. Okay. basic function is going to be x squared, and excuse me. And here it looks like this got it looks like it got stretched by 2. So this graph was reflected over the x-axis and stretched by a factor of 2. Cool. What would the equation be? I'm going to leave that up to you guys. Here, this is going to be a cubic x cubed, and now it's reflected across the y-axis. It's reflected off the x-axis, and I don't know. Let's see. So here it's 5. So this is 1, 1, 1, 2. So it should be going through 1, 1, but it's going through 1, 2. So it's been stretched by a vertical of 2. Cool. And then it's going to have you write the equation. I'll leave that up to you guys. Alright, so here, determine if reversing the order of the following operations can produce a different result. A vertical shift and a horizontal shift. If you no. The result of the vertical shift followed by a horizontal shift would most naturally be denoted by a horizontal shift. The result of a vertical shift and a horizontal shift would most notably be noted by H and K. The result of a horizontal shift followed by a vertical shift would be noted by I still think it would be that. Does not. Yeah. Cool. So now a reflection over the x-axis and a vertical shift. Yes. If it's a vertical shift followed by a reflection, it would be this one, and then the other one would be when it's distributed, that one. May change the final result. Yeah, because this one you're adding it, and then that one you're doing the addition after. Yep. Okay, horizontal shift and reflection on the y-axis. A horizontal shift. Yep, this is going to change it. So this one's going to be f of negative x plus h, and then it's going to be negative parentheses x plus h. May affect. I may have to switch these. This one should be f of negative x, and this one should be that one. Nope, the one that I was looking at before. Which one is it? Negative x plus h, or it could be negative x plus h in parentheses. Negative x plus h in parentheses. There we go. How to switch them. Okay, electric rates. The table to the right shows the electricity rate of all of this. Write a piecewise function. So if you use between the base charge between that and 500, it's going to be 750. If you use over 500, then it's going to be 0.085x, and then this needs a plus 0.065. Check. Both of your answers are incorrect. Whoa. Write a piecewise definition for w of x. If x is between over 500. Oh, do I have to do it like this? 500 minus x. I may have to do it like this because it's going to take that answer 0.085 that doesn't matter. And then this one just needs an x. The second answer is incorrect. Make sure that you are correctly using the information given in the table. If x 500 is less than x, oh, x minus 500. X minus 500. Correct answer. I got to distribute it? Oh, I need to distribute it. Okay, so then if I just multiply 0.85 times that, it give me 250? Really? Why don't I believe that? Let me just double check. 0.85 times 250 is equal to 212. 212. Why do they have a negative 250? What is the correct answer? That I got. Why is it negative 250 plus that? Right, a piece for the monthly charge, November to. It has something to do with the monthly charge. I gotta divide this answer by. I don't know where they got the. Let's view an example. Hold on. Okay. That one I got. Okay, now the W. If x then x minus 400 represents the amount of electrical power that costs at that. Since a customer is using more than 400 electrical power, they must pay the cost of that electrical power. For the additional, boom, the third line of the table implies the following: negative 5. Where did this negative 5 come from? I don't understand where the negative 5 came from. Since a customer using more than 400 watts of electric must pay the cost of using 400 kilowatts of electrical power plus that for the additional, the third line implies. I don't understand where I got the negative 5 from. I still don't know where the negative 5 came from. Here, where's the negative 2.5 come from? I have no idea. So, yeah, I don't. Over 400 watts. I don't know where the. No, okay. I'm gonna. Dang. And then the graph of this one would look like. It's a 500, 345, 540. Maybe this one? No. It's gotta be something with the point values. This is 60. If I plug in 600, I don't know what that times 600 is. What's 0.085? 0.085 times 600, and then do what to it? Do minus 2.5. 51.6 minus 2.5 gives us 49.1. 49.1. So at 600, it should be a 49. This one. Correct answer is A. Oh, this one had a point down there. There shouldn't have been a point. Oh my goodness. Alright, let's do this again. Alright, let's try this. So the first one, it's going to be just base charge $7, first 400, so that's just going to be 0.7 plus 0.07x. And then I don't know what the second one's going to be, so I'm just going to get it wrong, and it's probably going to be like -4 plus 0.85x. -2.5. This one was again 2.5. Alright, it's doable. Whatever. The answer is not going to have a point there. Not going to have. It's going to be, the first point should be at 300. Why do they have smaller ones? Why is there a point there? Why do you have a point there? Zero 7. Yeah, that one shouldn't have gone through. It should have been 0.7 and then continued, stop there. Okay. 29, let's see what's going on here. So here, write a piecewise function for the tax value, blah, 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 blah. So if it's between 0 and that, you get 4% of your income. So that should be 0.04x. If it's between 15,000 and 30,000, it's going to be $600 plus 0.0586% of anything over 15,000. So 15 x minus 15,000, x minus 15, 1, 2, 3. And then last but not least, the last one is going to be 1479 plus 7 point, nope, I gotta do 0.075 parentheses anything made over 30,000, so that's gonna be x minus 30, 1, 2, 3. Shift control, simplify your decimals. I'm hoping this is gonna accept it. Your first answer correct. I don't want to distribute that. I really don't. I really don't. But that's what you have to do. 0.5 times those numbers, multiply it out, and then you'll get it. I didn't distribute. Yeah. 0.04 is correct, and then 600 plus that, and then plus that. Yeah, I didn't distribute. So what does this graph look like? It's going to be an open circle and then a closed circle and a closed circle. There, 3540, we have to start at 30. It should be at 30. Which one of these is 30? That's 35, 30, 40, and this one. So that's 30. That's at 30. How much tax do you owe if it's that much? Well, I'm assuming you're gonna owe 1,700. So we should start somewhere around there, not at that number. And what are these? These guys is 40. What's special about you? What's different? Oh, this starts at 0. No. It has to start at 0. And now you just would take these numbers and plug it into each equation, and take that number, plug it into each equation, round to the nearest decimal, and you would be done. Something along those lines. You guys have the calculators. I'm just here to help you get it right. Yeah, it would just be those numbers. Plug in the decimals, round in. Okay. Would it be better for a married couple in the state with 2 incomes to file separately? So you would just compare separately as the tax owing is greater when the incomes are joined. Fine. I'm going to say that one. Okay, final answer without knowing the exact income. Jointly, as the total taxes owed are greater when the incomes are filed separately. Okay. There you go. All right, the speed of a particular vehicle in miles per hour when the driver slams on the brakes and skids to stop given by the function there, where x is the length and the skid marks. Describe how the graph of the function can be tamed using the square root of x. So this graph is just how is v of x related to f of x? The graph is the graph just stretched, right? It's been stretched by a factor of 6.89. That's it. What would this graph look like? Without knowing the exact values, I mean, we know it has to go through 0, 0, right? So I don't think it's this one. This one looks like it goes through 0, 0, but it's not been stretched. But no. Yeah, which one's been? Maybe this one? Okay. Kind of hard to tell which one. But that's it. All 30 questions. It's 31 minutes. And that's going over the textbook and everything. Good luck.